Show me clear how you play.
The Silver Legion as the Silver Legion has not been in existence very long. However, portions of it have been working together for a very, very long time. At least two other large groups of warriors were amalgamated into the greater unit. Some of their histories span hundreds of years and even thousands of years, and in addition, many small groups of warriors have joined us. And those groups, some of them have worked together for extremely long expanses of time. We formed as the Silver Legion under that name in about 2003-2004, and that's when we started to coalesce and actively recruit, and that's when we started calling ourselves the Silver Legion. Some of them have been doing their work for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. Others have been working together relatively young, not so much time. If there's a mean or average age or length of time serving, I would say most of our people are at least 1,000 years old. Time works very, very differently in that it's not a thing like it is here. In a few words, we were called to it. We became aware that there would be a need for an organized and large group of light workers working together, particularly pertaining to the defense of Earth, but certainly not limited to that. We started out with just a few thousand, courtesy of those two original armies that united. We spent the years between 2003 and last year in an intensive recruitment campaign, recruiting members from all across the galaxy, the universe, into other universes as well. In order to support our efforts, we also started to take contracts all over the universe with payment in energy, so we don't make money, we make energy. We used those contracts to learn to work together as a group, since if you bring together a number of people who've never met, never worked with each other, and send them out on a big mission, it's going to be a disaster. But we also took contracts to establish our credentials and make ourselves visible in other realms for people to see us and say, hey, yeah, I want to be a part of that, I want to join, and also to create, to gather enough resources to create our own realm on the 4th and 5th levels of the spirit plane. Yes, Moro, who is also known as Mustache Moro, was several times a general here on Earth, though I'm not familiar with the names that he wore during those times. I do know that he tended to favor mustaches. I also know that in all of his lives he was considered a tactical genius for his time. He's very adept at both tactics and strategy, and he's our key strategist. He was the leader of one of those armies that amalgamated into the Silver Legion, and he's a very enthusiastic member. He's most noted for, as his name suggests, the very distinctive mustache. It's a handlebar mustache. He's a bit gruff at times, and definitely one of the more serious-minded members of the Silver Legion, especially in the leadership, but he's certainly capable of fun. He just likes to pretend he isn't. Akara Anala, or Akara, has at least 5 names, all beginning with A. She's a celestial elf-like creature from another universe. She's amazingly kind-hearted and loving. She organizes the healers along with Akutalish, primarily is in charge of what she calls light bending, which can best be described as using light energy to look down timelines and predict or even influence the future. Yeah, to describe her, she's not very tall. She's only of average height, about 5 foot, so a little on the short side. But she has extremely long ears that stick out to either side. They're pointed, elf-like, long blonde hair and blue eyes, and great big fluffy white wings. Personality-wise, she's a very amazingly calm and patient woman. I've never seen her angry or worked up over anything, and considering the line of work we do, drama sometimes comes along, so that's saying something. Everything she does, she considers fully first. She's very, very caring and nurturing and generally moves to help anyone in need. Kind of calmness and kindness often comes with a great deal of age and experience. Akara's she's no exception to this. Itachi comes from another universe, but he is human. He has spent a number of lives born into a group of hereditary warriors in a highly feudal society where warrior communities perform what is essentially contract war operations to the aid of various feudal lords. So he did have a three-dimensional existence in another universe. He joined up upon dying in his human life, at which point he was given the choice of joining the Silver Legion or having a normal afterlife in his universe. He gladly joined us, and he's become one of our most important psionicists. This is a talent that emerged after his arrival to us, so the fact that he is so excellent at it was quite surprising to him. He is in charge of our psionics and intelligence division, and also works with Morrow on combat training. He would appear as a tall, wiry human of about 6'1", with black hair and black eyes. He seems extremely serious when you meet him, but it's actually an act. He's really mischievous. The negatives in a broad term. These include the reptilians and their gray patsies. These also include what are known as the Archons, who work not only on this world, but on others as well. And we have also been involved in, I guess you could call them local conflicts in other universes, typically against demonic entities. And yes, several varieties of demon exist out there. Some of them are more and some of them are less malicious. When some of them go out and attempt to disrupt sovereignty on a large scale, we're often invited or asked to step in, and we do. In my experience, you still have duality right up until about the 6th or 7th level. It gets a little bit better the higher up you go. It's less prominent and certainly less destructive. But down on the 4th, you certainly still have some of the duality plays that are going on the 3rd. And some of them get quite involved. You have 4th dimensional lights, and you have 4th dimensional darks. And the 4th dimensional darks aren't necessarily going to be dissuaded just because the 4th dimensional lights don't want to have anything to do with them. So just because, most sane lights want nothing to do with conflict does not mean that conflict always stays away from their doorstep. And that's part of the reason why the Silver Legion exists, because, it does happen. You do get high enough and it stops, mostly because people realize there's no point to it. Until people reach that level of understanding and learning, there's still going to be people who want to interfere, want to control, want to dominate, want it their way. And they have to be defended. I've never seen anyone 6th and higher who is dark-oriented. And 5th is rare. Personally never met anyone from the 6th who is dark-oriented. Ndano is mostly our liaison, so he does not take a combat role. He's strictly non-com. Instead, what he does is he communicates with us, he walks among us and gets to know us and speaks with people, answers questions. He also sits on council meetings with the command and attends meetings with the Andromeda Council and relays requests and instructions and things like that to us so that we can act on them, and also sometimes takes back our communications. Really, really neat guy. I like him. He has a fondness for chess. I'm not very good at chess, but I'll play with him. We basically manifest a chessboard and play our pieces and play chess. About the two other members of the command, there's Ikutalish, who is, I guess you could call her a dragon, because that is the shape that her body takes, although she does not conform to most of the stereotypes that we have of dragons, and she doesn't call her species by that name. She and I were associated from the other army that joined. I don't know her all that well, as I tend to work mostly with Itachi and Moro, but Ikutalish works very closely with Akara. She's the only member of the council that is completely non-com as well. She's very healing and nature-oriented, and she does a lot of work with soul recovery of the fallen. She's also involved in recovering our wounded and our slain. Ikutalish is the only commander who does not fight, as I said, though she's very, very closely involved in organizing home realm defense. She looks like a Western-style dragon with very crystalline scales of different shades of green and a mane of crystalline lavender hair, I guess you could call it. She's roughly the size of a large dog. Some of our dragons are able to shape change. She's not a shape changer. Much like Akara, she's extremely calm and serene unless you don't listen to her when she's giving you medical advice, and then she gets very, very angry, and I've seen the bravest warriors cringe and hang their heads in shame when Akutalish gets upset at them. And if you don't listen to her, she will sit on you. I'm in charge of organizing our home realm, implementing improvements, additions, and repairs. I'm also involved in information gathering and organizing the energy workers, that is, the individuals who use different varieties of energy in their battle techniques. I'm also typically the liaison or diplomat to other cultures, and this is one of the reasons why I work so closely with Nano. It's also because my species are shapeshifters, so we find ourselves easily to take other forms in order to make other beings more comfortable in our presence. Because if we show up in our true forms, it can sometimes be intimidating. And my species, we tend to be on a little bit on the inconveniently large side. We prefer to assume smaller, more familiar forms. The arena. One of the most favorite features of our realms. People who have joined the Legion just to get access to the arena. It's a simulation. We create copies of the people who will be using it, with all of their abilities and natural traits programmed into it, and project their consciousnesses into it. In the arena, that's potentially infinite space inside if necessary, since it is a simulation. We can have multiple arenas going on at once. Essentially what it does is it offers the opportunity for people to practice their skills without having to run the risk of hurting or killing another person or getting hurt or killed themselves. Prior to the development of the arena and the smaller workshops and larger training grounds built on the same concept, training with real skills and weapons involved risk. Now it doesn't, so people are able to experiment with techniques that would otherwise be lethal. And we also have simulators which help us understand potential issues in battles before they arise. And as you might expect, there's an observing room at the arena, and watching others is a big draw, as is participating. And these being warriors, there is inevitably wagering on the results. It's not real, but it feels real enough to the people who are doing it, and that's where the advantage lies. You can program it, if you're in training mode, you can program it so those hits hurt. And actually, dodge is one of the things that I'm working on. I'm not good at dodge, and let me tell you, when you scale up the pain, it gives you really good motivation. And you can also turn off pain, so if people just want to go in and blow all their power around and see what the results are, they can do that. Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about our 5 core types, and we run the gamut. There's those who prefer battle in ranks, but for the most part we tend to work in units that are smaller, typically from about 3 to 100. So our force is pretty large. We're over 10,000 now and still growing, and we've got warriors from literally all over the universe, so there's a huge variety in strengths and capabilities. We have 5 types, and I'll break them down for you, and there's some people who can do it all. There's some people who can do more than one thing, but I'll give you a general breakdown. The first type, and probably the most critical to our success, are the healers. An army is really only as good as its hospital. We do get hurt, sometimes killed, and that means that we need to have healers on hand. Not too many warriors are healers as well, but we make very good use of those who are. Healers at the medical quarters are dedicated healers and work very hard to keep us all on our feet and ready to go. Healthcare is naturally free. The energy we earn by doing our work helps ensure that. And this is energetic healing. There is nobody who's physical in that realm, or at least they're not there in their physical forms if they have physical forms like me. Well, I'm not healing oriented myself. I'm more energy work oriented. That's not healing. Yeah, we have several different kinds of healers, and one of the benefits of recruiting from all over the multiverse is the fact that we have people whose healing abilities are wildly and radically different